Hello YouTube, this is WF7i Homebrew, and just wanted to give a little update. And I'm not as far along as I had hoped, but like I said, I'm going to be taking a long time to build this radio. So if anyone's following along, don't expect this to be done anytime soon. um, so one of the things I discovered with this circuit is, and it's something I was kind of thinking might be an issue because I've worked with this circuit before. Just as a refresher, this is a circuit I'm more or less building. It's based on this anyway, it's not exactly like this. But what I've run into in the past, so this is your VFO right here. So that's the variable capacitor, so that varies your frequency. And so you feed, the idea is you choose these values so that the resonant frequency will be in the band of interest. And I've done that for 80, 40, and 20 meters, the ham bands. And the 680 capacitors here in these choices connect into ports 6 and 7 of the NE602 chip, where there's a transistor that then completes the oscillator circuit. So you need an active device, obviously, to oscillate. You can't just oscillate with just a pile of capacitors and inductors. You need something to amplify and to get that feedback, to get that loop gain in there. So NE602 chip, the transistor is supposed to do that. My experience with the circuit, the last time I built it, about 20 years ago now, almost 20 years ago, that never worked. I never could get it to oscillate with the NE602 chip, and I remember a lot of frustrating evenings trying to get it to work, and I used the exact components on that diagram, and it just would not work. What I found with this, so this is my 2020 version of it, and it's kind of a mess, but I've got the 602 chip mounted here on the board, and I have the resonant circuit elements for 20 meters is over here, and I've got another cluster of, and I know this is a rat's nest, you can't really make much sense out of this the way it's laid out, but anyway, this is a coil and some components for the 80 meter band rather. And this is my main tuning, this is the fine tuning down here, and then this is a switch to switch between bands and to switch some of these different elements out. So what I found is on 80 meters, it would oscillate, but the voltage level on the scope is very, very low. I mean, we're talking, it was in the millivolts. And when I did this just with my own discrete transistor out on another piece of board here, I was getting many volts. And when I tried to do the 20 meter oscillator, and I had noticed the 20 meter oscillator was not as strong even when I was doing it myself with a transistor on another board. 20 meters would not oscillate at all. There's just noise, basically. There's nothing happening. So just, if anyone is building this circuit from that diagram, just something to keep in mind. I think for some reason the transistor that's supplied through the pin 6, pin 7 connections there, the 602, is just doesn't seem to, for some reason, be enough to really get a robust oscillation, has been my experience. And I've done this, I played with the circuit quite a bit over the years, and it seems like it keeps coming back to that. And what I looked at too, I looked at the design for a kit made by Small Wonder Labs way back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So he did a Dave Benson K1SWL, I think is his call sign. He doesn't run that shop anymore, but he had a really nice series of kits, and he had a 20 meter kit that was based on the NE602. And I noticed on his circuit diagram, he used a kind of his own oscillator, and he just fed that signal into the 602 chip. So he had his own transistor and his own Colpitts oscillator that was kind of standalone, and he just fed that into 602. And that's what I ended up doing before with my 40 meter my 40 meter homebrew radio that was based on this same circuit. I ended up just kind of building a Hartley oscillator and then putting that signal into the NE602, and that worked pretty well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have to kind of back up a little bit, engineer some Colpitts oscillators, and I've already kind of done that. So I'm going to kind of just refine the 20 meter one, see if I can get a little bit better voltage on the oscillations. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that with this circuit. I'm going to put in those transistors. It's going to add the parts count. It's going to make it a little bit more complicated. But it looks like that's what's required to really kind of make this work. So I definitely have enough real estate on this board to put in several oscillators, so that should not be a huge problem. But it will take a little bit of extra time to kind of get that in there. But I think that'll make this work, and then I'll have a nice 3-band radio. So anyway, that's about it. I just thought I would check in and kind of let you know what's going on there. It's kind of an interesting thing. I know I had one person write me a message saying that they had some trouble with this circuit before and it never worked. And I think that could be a big part of it, is you need a pretty robust oscillator signal to, for your local oscillator injection into that 602. It just, I don't know. There might be something I'm doing wrong. I mean, somebody can certainly chime in if they've had good luck just sort of relying on the 602 transistor for the oscillator. But it seems like myself and possibly Dave Benson both have had to resort to kind of building our own oscillator with our own transistor and then injecting that signal. So anyway, that's about it. I will touch base again when we get a little further down the line here. Thanks for watching.